Hello and welcome back. So this is going to be, a very important video because it applies everything we've gone through together. Throughout the course, we've talked about why students get stuck, how to identify what's holding them back, and the framework we use to help them improve. Sometimes the best way to understand a process is to see it in action, you know? So in this video, I'd like to share the story of one of my dear students, Isobel, because of her journey highlights, something, I see I see far more often than most parents realize because of everything we've gone through in her journey. And this is an important one for me, is because I'm really proud of Isobel. I know her mother Louise is very proud of her as well. And I just want to take you through her journey and how she went from a grade 4 all the way to a grade 7, to passing her expectations and her mother's as well. And so I hope this video is a good sort of showcase of the method and obviously of Isobel's hard work. So please stay with me. So, where did Isobel start? When I started working with Isobel, she was in a difficult place. I'll be honest. She was working hard. She cared about doing well, but her results just were not reflecting her potential. Her confidence, it started falling. And perhaps most importantly, teachers were beginning to discuss moving her onto the foundation tier. Now, whether foundation is right for a student or not isn't the issue here. The issue is how these conversations affect, a young person's belief in themselves. For Isobel, it started creating the feeling that maths simply was not for her. From the outside, the situation looked fairly straightforward. Poor exam results, low confidence, growing frustration. And those were the things everyone can see. They were the symptoms, not the problem. Over the years, I've learned that visible problems are often symptoms. They're not the causes, as we've highlighted in many of the videos. And before we can help a student improve, we need to understand what's happening underneath the surface. So what was actually holding Isobel back? You know? And this is where the story becomes interesting, because very quickly I realized the issue wasn't her ability. It wasn't the effort. Isobel was already working hard. The real issue was confidence. Poor exam technique, you know? And this obviously affected her exam results. And her growing belief that she wasn't capable of the maths grade she wanted. Those things had become barriers between what she knew and what she was actually achieving in exams. So, what was the turning point? This was the moment everything changed, really. As I worked with Isobel, it became obvious that her understanding of maths was much stronger than her grades suggested. When we talked through questions, the knowledge was often there. The problem was that the exam results were not reflecting what she actually knew. And that's a very, very different challenge to solve. She didn't need someone to convince her that she was clever. She needed evidence herself that she was capable. Because that is one of the main driving factors of gaining confidence. She needed her own evidence. Telling her she was capable wasn't going to, fix it. Now, if we go back to the student types we discussed earlier in the course, Isobel was primarily a confident student with some exam technique challenges. Her anxiety was affecting her performance. Her confidence was affecting her decision making. And exam technique was preventing her from fully converting her knowledge into marks. Understanding that diagnosis was the key to everything that came next and how we solved her problems. So what did we change? We didn't do anything magical. We used our framework. Okay, we simply applied the framework that you've already seen in the course over and over again. We created clear direction. We focused on consistent progress. And we worked on confidence under exam pressure. Every lesson had purpose. Every improvement was measurable. And every success became another piece of evidence that she was more capable than she believed. And that is the key point. And so, this was one of my favorite, things because it demonstrates how confidence actually works. Okay, so let me move my face slightly. Most people think confidence comes first, but usually confidence follows success. It comes last. Small wins improved confidence, right? Improved performance, created belief. And belief increased performance. And naturally, with more belief, created more effort towards real progress. Okay? And before long, the entire cycle had reverse direction. So it keeps on going like this. It's a feedback loop. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this, but this is a positive feedback loop. Instead of reinforcing failure, this was reinforcing success. Okay? The first breakthrough was achieving a grade 6. This was probably the best thing. As a teacher and as a student, getting past a major milestone always feels exhilarating, right? This alone, right? Just this alone, going from a 4 to a 6, was a huge moment because it showed Isobel what she was capable of. But more importantly, it created momentum. Her confidence increased, her anxiety decreased, and she started approaching maths differently. Then, in her final GCSE exams, she achieved a grade 7, a result that would have seemed impossible when we first started working together. These are her own words, not mine. Now, let's have a look at what Isobel said. And I've got the full testimony on my website. It's a full video of her talking about her experience. You can have a look at it after the video if you want. Was, because this is important because these aren't my words, right? She said, I never thought I could get a grade 7. I used to dread every maths lesson. Now I actually feel like I can do it. It's amazing what the framework can obviously achieve, and what a student, when a student's confidence lifts up, it's really an amazing sight. And as parents, you probably relate even more strongly to what Louise, her mother, said. Okay? As tutors, we focus on grades, but parents see something much bigger. She said, we were at the point of accepting she'd sit foundation. What changed wasn't just the grades, it was Isobel. It was her. She started believing in herself again. As a parent, that meant everything. Because parents see the confidence in their child. They see the self-belief. They see their child feeling happier and more capable. And that's exactly why stories like this matter so much. So, if there's one lesson I'd like you to take away from Isobel's and Louise's story, is this. The issue was never ability. Okay? The issue was having the right system to make that ability visible. Once she had direction, once she had structure, once her confidence started to get rebuilt, the results simply followed. Now, why does this matter? Because Isobel's story isn't unique. In fact, it's surprisingly common. There are students sitting in classrooms all over the country right now that are more capable, right, of significantly getting a grade much higher than what they are currently getting in their assessments. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack intelligence, because they haven't yet been given the right support, the right structure, and the right approach. Okay? The right systems change everything. Now, could this be your child? I'd encourage you to think honestly about your own child here. Are they working hard but not seeing results? Right? Do they know more than their grades suggest? Have they started believing they aren't a maths person? Do nerves or exam performance seem to hold them back? And if any of these seem familiar to you, there may be far more potential there than their current grades suggest, and it's very teachable and they can get there. Okay? So, right, in the next video, we're going to look at something every parent struggles with at some point: how to support your child without constant reminders, the arguments that come with it, frustration, or feeling like you're always nagging your child. Because support does matter. But the way we provide that support matters just as much. Okay, and thank you for your time. I will see you in the next video.